Hello and welcome back. My name is Ove Inborg from Wolfthrone Studios, and today I'm going to show you how you can edit drums in Reaper the easiest way, at least how I do it. So let's jump into the program and I will guide you through how to do it in an easy and effective way. I will show you also a couple of tricks what you can do when you're editing drums for mixing later and how to prepare your tracks for the mixing process. So what I did today was recording a super short song, 44 seconds, and these drums are now totally unedited, and I wanted to show you how I normally do when editing the drums. So let's start. First of all, I like to group all the drums together, and you do that by taking all the tracks like this, and then you press G. So now everything is grouped together, and it will be super easy to, if I do a cut, everything is cut like that, and you can move around it like that. So one thing I like to do is right click here, and then you go to switch toolbar and you go to the first one. Now you see that the grid is 1x4. I like to go with at least 8 or 16 depending on how much hits there is. But we can start now with 4 because it's pretty slow intro. So one thing I like to do is when you press S, which is the cut, and then you hold Alt key, and then you can drag this around like that, and then you can see that I want to have the kick drums like this. Here comes a snare drum, here comes a kick again. As you can see, when you're getting used to this, to just press S for cut and Alt to drag the files around like that, it goes super quickly. And you can see now that I have not yet did the crossover like this, because in the end when you have done all these cuts like this, you can just take everything like that, then you go to, let's say here, and then you just crossfade it over, and then you can see that the crossfade have affected all the cuts. So now it's a crossfade all over the place. So that's one way to do it. I just keep doing this. And here when it comes to this snare roll or fill, let me mute the other tracks quickly so you can hear. Now you can see that the grid is only showing the 4/4, so what I will do is press the 1/8, so now I can see where everything should be. So then we take it like this. Here's the second tom. And then the floor tom. And then we go back to kick drum. Like so. Here comes a blast beat part, and one thing I like to do is, if you have the plugin Suit, you can actually editing the drums, the kick drum separately, and not actually have to care so much to time them exactly with the overheads, because if you suit the overheads, you can I will demonstrate it. Let's say here suit. You can target the low end in the kick drum. So let's see here. If you target the low end like this and having fastest attack and fastest release, you can basically remove all the low frequencies from the impact of the kick drum. So when you do that and you have the live kick here not aligned with what is happening in the overheads, it will not be a phase cancellation. If you have the overheads, of course, really loud and you can hear like the impact from the kick drum itself, then you can of course hear that these have been separately corrected. But for me it works at least to edit on faster parts, double bass parts, the kick drum completely separate from the rest of the tracks without having an issue that it will sound weird, like you hear two kicks instead of one. It has worked for me at least, and I will demonstrate it a little bit later when I have edited these drums. So what I will do now is do a cut here, so I don't affect what is happening on this side. So what I do first now is to editing the kicks only on this blast beat part. Yeah, so now I have edited all the kick drums like this. And one thing I want to mention also, for this to work, you really need to hard gate the kick drums so you don't hear any snare drum or anything else in the kick mic, because then it will actually be a little bit problem with the rest of the tracks on the drums. So I will demonstrate. You really need to hard gate them like this. It's super short sustain, you know, something like this. Then it works really good for the phase. But if you leave the gate open and you hear the snare drum there and the snare is not played at the same time, so then you can start to hear this double snare thing going on, and that's not good. So what you can do now, when you have all the kicks and you have the rest of the drums grouped, you can start with the snare drum, and then we continue to see that, yeah, I was a little bit early here, so I just take this and move it where it should be, like this. Yeah, as you can see, I have now edited all the hits, so it looks kinda extreme because everything is now gridded to maximum as it would be computer drums, program drums. And that is one thing I need to actually tell you, that I would not recommend to edit every single hit so it looks like this. This is mostly for demonstration how effective you can edit the drums if you want them to be this tight. But most of the time, I would say almost all the time, it sounds in the end better to only edit what needs to be edited. Like let's say, for instance, that a drummer have a really cool groove going on, and it can sound better and more musically if the kick drums act a little bit later and the snare drum are a little bit later for a more laid back groove, or other way around. Let's say if you play really fast D beat, you want the snare and kick drum just to be a little bit ahead of the grid to give this drive. So then it would actually sound worse to have it gridded like this. But for this demonstration, it works. So the last step I would do now, when everything is edited, just mark everything and right click anywhere, and then you glue items like so. So now you can see everything is edited. It looks super clean. We can listen through the drums how they sound now. Yes, and what I will show you now how to make this sound even better, because it's so edited, and you can, especially with the kick drums, because I edited them not together with the rest of the tracks such as overheads. I will show you the effect, how everything starts to sound when you're gating them properly. So let's start with the kick drum here. I know that most of you probably don't have all these plugins, but if you have them, this is a really effective way how to make real drum sounds as good as almost triggered sounds. So here's the first kick. You can hear a little bit the snare in the background. So I will really hard gate this with super fast release and quick attack, something like this. And then that also leads into a drum leveler, expensive but so good plugin. And I do even more gating here. Now it's super. Everything is so even. It's crazy. Listen to all these. If you can see the dynamics here. Everything is even now, so it will be super easy to mix. That's how I prepare the kicks. Let's copy paste this over to the second kick here. Let's see. There we have silencer, drum leveler. Then we check the second kick. Let's check the yes, and together. Listen how clean they sound with the overheads now, because they are gated away from it. And let's also do this thing I talked about earlier with soothing away the low end in the overhead tracks. I group left and right together. I add soothe. Then we all this low end away. Yeah, something like that, and together with the kick drums. Sounds super smooth. And together with the snare. Almost sounding to me like triggered kick drums, as you saw how I did to get full control of the dynamics. So when you have it like that, you don't really need to trigger it if you don't want to trigger it for taste, that you actually want a different kick sound itself. But this is so consistent that you can do basically whatever you want to do with it. So let's move the snare. I will also gate that. I don't want to remove exactly everything from the snare drum because the blast beat sounds too unnatural if you hard gate it too much. But this is good enough. And a little bit of drum leveler on that as well. On snare drum you need to be careful with drum leveler so you don't make everything too even. If you would have it like this and hard, I would say around 30% is pretty good for snare drum when you're drum leveling it. Then we go copy that to the bottom. That. And drum leveler. This one, however, you can be pretty extreme with the leveling out of the snare, bottom snare. Something like this. And now when you blend it together with the top snare, you have much more control of the overall snare sound when the bottom snare having the same volume all the time. Same with the toms. Little bit of silencer. Yeah, now all the close mics are gated, and together with the whole drum set, with the overheads, it should sound pretty clean now. yeah, that's how I do it when I want to prepare the drums for mixing. If I have the time, I always try to do the editing as much as necessarily, and maybe even also gating before sending it to other mixers. So yeah, thank you for watching, and till next time, bye bye.